Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we celebrate this Halloween season 2024 with the Retro Blood special Halloween episode. That's right, we have made it to the ultimate episode of the Retro Bloods year. We're celebrating Halloween with everybody out there. We're drinking some beer, especially me. I got like 3 pumpkin ones over here. We're gonna have it a good time, and we're rocking out, brother, to some satanic, devil-worshipping music, brother. Alright? Because if you all like a teen whose name is Eddie, no, not the guy from Stranger Things, but I'm pretty sure they ripped it off, who is a very Stand-like fan, and he has a name called Ragman for some reason. If you all like going crazy over satanic backwards track music, and if you all like getting fucked by a green 80s blue light that will melt you, then this is the review for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is talking all about Trick or Treat 1986, not that one with Sam, even though there was a Sam in this one, brother, who was basically Raiden. All right.
Yeah, that was a Sam in this one too. But,
was it? Well, J. Alison, James Kline, what's happening, everybody? I'm drinking over here already. Alison, was this right. Sam guy? Was he not Raiden from Mortal Kombat, or was I just?
He did, yeah. No. He looks like he was in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I don't know. I've been looking forward to doing this movie since we started talking about doing this podcast. Yeah, so I love this movie. It's even better now than it was when I first saw it.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time seeing this movie, and I thought it was pretty fun. It's very interesting when I was watching. I was like noticing a lot of like stuff that wouldn't fly today, and then I noticed a lot of stuff that a lot of other movies like ripped off about this movie too, which is very fascinating. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun one. Like, this is a nice, fun party rock movie, you know what I mean? And it's just very interesting. It shows the side of the metalheads of how underground they were, and you know, it shows like bullying and stuff in there too. It shows, you know, the whole crave of the teachers and the society not liking the rock satanic music because they thought it was you know, their young teenage daughters or something was corrupting them. You know what I mean? It's a very fascinating movie for the time, I would say. Right. You know, we see stuff kind of like that today, but I don't think it's as extreme as it was during this particular time period.
No, it's different now. It's completely. I think it's the whole world is completely different now than it was then. I was younger than Eddie was in this movie when I saw it. You know, I wasn't in high school in 1986 like Eddie was.
Yeah.
But I would say, and I'll tell some stories as we go through this movie that will not be very funny. So this is supposed to be our fun, lighthearted episode, but there's going to be some pretty dark stuff in this. I'm just warning you and the people out there ahead of time. But I would say that this is pretty realistic.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. In a lot of the ways that people that were into like underground heavy metal or heavy metal in general were treated, and things that I went through personally, like things that I experienced personally and my friends experienced personally. This is pretty close to accurate. And some of it was pretty triggering for me, to be honest with you. Like, I saw this movie when it was new, or when it came out on VHS, and I don't think I've seen it since until I watched it a couple of nights ago. And it was honestly pretty triggering for me in a lot of ways. Like, it brought back a lot of really, really, really bad memories.
Yeah.
You know, of specific things that happened to me and people I know. And I'll tell some of the stories without mentioning any names. But I love this movie. Absolutely. But you're right. It's one of those movies that it seems no one has seen.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's hard to find someone that's seen this movie, but it's been ripped off so many times that people have seen parts of it.
Yeah. Well, it's very a couple things. It's very interesting in the fact that the Eddie character, if this movie was made in like the 90s or the 2000s, would have been a completely different story than him overcoming the bullying and overcoming the satanic taunting by his favorite rock singer to get back on the teenagers that were bullying him. I know you're gonna tell some stories about you being, obviously wrongfully bullied, for liking metal. I myself never really experienced that because when I was about growing up and stuff, obviously it was more in the 90s, and metal was a little bit more accepted, in the 90s, I would say, probably than it was in the 80s, just because, there was, I think the only thing I remember getting phone calls and stuff from school about was me watching Beavis and Butthead. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the music I was listening to and stuff.
Right.
And it was like mostly about like, oh man, he watches that Beavis and Butthead, it's gonna rot his mind and shit.
Right.
Like I can remember that, but like when it comes to like listening to metal and stuff, I never really like felt like, super duper out of place because, when I personally started listening to metal, I was probably 15 or 16 when I actually listened.
Yeah.
And the first metal I listened to was like Nine Inch Nails, which is like not necessarily like traditional metal, but
right.
it was like when my friend got me into Slayer. You know what I mean? He got me into like more like the thrash stuff. You know what I mean? I started really getting into that.
Sure.
I was already kind of at the age of 15 and 16 where I was like already kind of big enough for people who didn't mess with me at all to begin with. So it didn't really matter if I was going to be wearing like, metal shirts or not. But, I know that's, it, and like I was saying, just in my experience, like I remember seeing in school in the 90s a lot more metal style kids, because a lot of people listen to like, System of the Down, stuff like that. That Slipknot was very popular in a lot of schools I went to. So I think it was like a little more metal and the 90s, a little bit more mainstream than it was in the early 80s, and then of course in the later 80s as well too. So yeah, just different times. It's pretty interesting. So, but
yeah.
We will get into all that because we are definitely going to be partying up this episode. All right. And to let you all know, me and Alison planned to do this live, but we had some technical difficulties, mostly on my side.
Yes.
My studio, if you can even call it that. I wish I did have a Retro Blood studio. That'd be awesome. You know what I mean? Maybe one day. You know what I mean? But, me and you, like, we said this before. Me and you are like a true punk rock podcast. You know what I mean? We don't make a lot of money doing this. We do it for the fun of it. You know what I mean? So we
for the love of it.
For the love of it. For all you guys out there who like to celebrate 80s horror, talk about wrestling, talk about metal, drink some beer, have a good time. You know what I mean? Talk about some stories like that could be heavy. Talk about some stories that could be light. This is what we do on here. You know what I mean? So, a lot of times we don't have a lot of like money or sponsors, backing us up. Even if you want to sponsor us and you're a beer company, we would, I don't give a fuck.
Especially if you're a beer company.
I don't care what beer it is. Like you could be like fucking Joe Dirt beer. I'd be like, oh, you're the best beer I've ever tasted. All right.
That would be awesome. If we could get Joe Dirt beer. Yeah. That would be great.
But we'll take any other kind of sponsoring. You know what I mean? I know those penis pills are really good on those wrestling podcasts. I could talk about penis pills all day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Have you heard my mouth on here? Okay? Have you heard it? Okay? All right. So sometimes technical difficulties happens, and it just so happens that my room that I record in is getting gutted because we're redoing it, and it just happened to be at the time where I wanted to do a live video. So guess what? We're just going to have to wait probably until like either late November or December. So, yeah. But you all can hear our wonderful voices on here. And like I said, if you all need to advertise on our show, retroblood69@gmail.com. Let us know if you want to advertise anything. And let us know if you want us to review anything. We are getting some cool reviews coming in from you guys. And I'm getting them all. I'm getting a list of them all that you all want us to do. And I'm putting like the list together, and then me and Alison will have like the fan months. Like when we do those reviews and those months, I'll shout out whoever gave us the request for those on there. So we got pretty good ones, and some of them I never even heard of before, which is crazy. Cool. So it should be fun.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yes. As I drink my pumpkin beer. You don't like pumpkin beer, do you?
No, I don't really like pumpkin beer. I'm drinking Guinness tonight. So
the first, I had my nice little coaster because I thought we were gonna do video, which I showed you earlier, the Dracula coaster. Yeah. I guess I don't need that right now. I'm drinking this. I know it's like a chain beer, but this Samuel Adams Jack-o'-lantern pumpkin beer is really fucking good.
I really actually like Samuel Adams beer.
Like for a chain style beer, like they're pretty fucking big good. Company. Yeah. So looks like every Halloween review, I like to get a little tipsy on here as we talk about. As you did. Yes, as I did for Night of the Demons.
Night of the Demons. Yeah.
So I could talk about a green fog who can sexually get you. Alison, have you ever listened to a well, maybe we'll get to it when we get there. I might be a little bit more beers in.
Yeah.
There's a couple of funny scenes in this movie.
I think you need to get a few beers for this. This is labeled a horror comedy, but I didn't really find this funny at all. Yeah, I mean there's a couple of scenes that are funny, but like I don't know. Like I think that it wasn't funny to me.
Yeah, I didn't think it. I didn't find the funny in it. There was entertainment with it. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
like I thought, like the first half was like kind of serious, and a couple of serious in a couple of different ways, which we'll talk about. And then the second half was a little bit more goofy. Like right when the whole Sam character showed up in his like demon Raiden outfit in itself, I did that. That's when the movie kind of went like a little bit more towards like the goofy,
Well, right. That's the only thing I don't like about the movie is how ridiculous that character. Like the part where he's performing at the high school.
Yeah.
So like that started off great, but then he's doing like forward somersaults and things on the stage.
Come on, brother. You don't do that at a high school Halloween party? I love to do that. But let's get into some of the history segment.
Let's do it.
What we got for our Halloween history over here. Because this movie came out October 24th, 1986. Mm-hmm. Good old area. I mean, this is a good. Yes. This is a fun year. This 1986. Every time we do 1986 movies, I always enjoy because we have some great movies and we have some great wrestling to talk about, and usually pretty good music too. Which I know you're going to be probably talking about the soundtrack down here.
Yeah.
But I'll go first. I want to talk about this angle because it's one of the most famous angles in wrestling history, and we have touched on this before. And that is, and it actually happened on this date, which is pretty surprising. So on this date, October 24th, 1986, all right, through the NWA, Crockett territory.
Yes.
We had the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, make his way to the ring, pushing through all the NWA fans. All right, as he's gonna take on Ole Anderson and J.J. Dillon of the Four Horsemen inside a steel cage. Dusty enters the ring, but he's not alone, because just a few feet behind him come one of the biggest heels of that time in that company, Nikita Koloff. So this is the angle where Nikita Koloff became a babyface, and he teamed up with Dusty Rhodes. It happened on. Just imagine that. You can see this angle, which is one of the biggest angles of that territory, because you had, Nikita Koloff from this whole time. This whole territory was the evil Russian powerhouse. Okay, and now he's turning face to team with Dusty to take on the Four Horsemen. And this whole angle happened pretty much because of Magnum TA. Pretty much, had that car accident. So they needed to replace him for the storyline purposes, and that's when they brought Nikita Koloff to be a babyface. But this is actually one of the most memorable angles that happened at this particular time with Nikita becoming babyface, and he was actually a pretty good babyface.
Yeah, this was really revolutionary because it's not like heels haven't become faces before, even really hated heels.
Yeah,
but you have to understand like where the United States was at during this time. You know, like you have to understand that in 1986 there wasn't any like, you know, thought of, you know, America being allies with Russia. You know, they were still these people that were trying to kill us, and they were going to nuclear bomb us any day, and in any moment this could happen. And people hated Russians. Americans hated the Soviet Union, and to make a Russian a good guy was so forward thinking for Dusty to do. You know, that's something that in 1989 that would have made more sense because, you know, the Berlin Wall falls and, you know, the Soviet Union collapses. But in 1986, that was all still going really strong. And I think that that was like a really revolutionary thing and a very forward thinking thing for Dusty to do. Yeah. I've always been impressed every time I think about this.
Yeah. It just, it's very interesting because, you know, Dusty, of course, he feuded like almost like a blood feud in those territories with Nikita Koloff. And then now he has him on his side and stuff. And it was actually a way to kind of like, you know, Nikita Koloff got so big off this character that he was considered to even be the NWA champion, you know, from his babyface run that he did as well too. So it's just really cool to see, you know, it's something like, you know, that's been done in wrestling a bunch of times. And I think this angle kind of like puts like a pretty good stamp on it. Is if you are very hot heel, eventually you're going to be a very hot, big baby face. And
yes,
that's something that's been done in wrestling for a long time. And it's still done to this day in pro wrestling. You know, just look at Roman Reigns. He was like, you know, obviously he had the cool factor behind him when he was the heel. But he was like the top major heel. And of course, after WrestleMania, where he lost the belt and he came back, now he's like the top mega star babyface, you know. And it's been like that with a bunch of, you know, even wrestlers that not at that level. You know, a lot of times, you know, look at like you know, there's just a bunch of different examples you can look at of wrestlers, you know, being super hot heels and then they come being really over baby faces. You know, MJF was one of them, you know. Was hated, but then he had that babyface run, and then he turned back to being heel, you know? So it's just very interesting to see that, you know, especially in the 80s, because I'm pretty sure, like, you know, it's not like, you know, there was, like, news sources in the 80s, you know what I mean? Through, like, magazines and stuff, but it's not like, you know, right before Nikita Koloff is going to come on, you know, walk out with Dusty, you're not going to have a tweet saying, there might be rumblings of, Nikita turning babyface tonight. You know what I mean? Like we get nowadays. You know, back then you're just like, what the fuck? This guy's coming out with Dusty? Yeah. Holy shit. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. The people that night were truly surprised, I'm sure. Yeah. Instead of it being like on social media or something before.
So just a cool piece of wrestling history happened right when Trick or Treat got released. Not only can you see Nikita Koloff turning babyface, but you can also see Ozzy Osbourne turning heel, as he was some sort of reverend hating rock music, which I actually thought was the most entertaining part of this movie.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That actually like threw me for a loop for a second. Like I was watching it and stuff, and like I was like, oh, there's Ozzy, because I knew he was in this movie. All right.
Yeah.
And then he's like, next thing you know, he pops up saying, oh, yeah, it's like Reverend something. I gotta get his name, and he's all like, yes, this fucking Satan music. I just don't believe what people could say that. What happened to good old fashioned "I love you" songs? And I was like, this is. First of all, I can understand everything he's saying, which is crazy. All right.
Right.
And then it's like he's playing the total opposite of how his character is. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I thought it was great. But yeah, I thought it was amazing. I was going to point that out that you can understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
So, which makes me think that, the rest of that character is just a gimmick. You know what I mean? Like how, incoherent he is when he talks, but like in this, you could clearly, unless he was overdubbed by someone else, you can clearly understand every word he's saying in this.
I did like when he was reading the lyrics too, which I'm guessing is lyrics to one of his songs.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
So that was funny. Oh, this one's really good. Pumpkin
did
ale
you
with spices. Interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the spices and the pumpkin stuff. Did you recognize Gene Simmons?
No. That's what I was gonna point out. Was he the record guy? The guy that gave?
He was the DJ.
So he was the DJ.
Yeah, he was the guy that gave Eddie the Sammi Curr record.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. But I was looking at it, I was like, you know what? I maybe it's just my memory, but I remember Danzig being a lot more ripped than he looked in this movie. Like, he didn't look like he was on the gas on this movie. And I remember seeing him on ripped as shit. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't as ripped as Doyle was, but I remember him being a pretty big dude. You know what I mean?
Hello? Hey, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I thought he dropped down. But yeah, very interesting, though. But yeah, like, pretty good piece of wrestling history dropped. We got some trick-or-treat action. But Alison, what do you got for us for the metal music?
So I figured, like, I wanted to talk about the soundtrack to this movie and the band Fastway. Fastway is a band that most people have never heard of. But they were a semi-hair metal band. I wouldn't really call their music hair metal. It's better than that. But they did the soundtrack to this movie, and they did all the Sammi Curr. Is it Curr or Carr? It's Curr, right? It's Sammi Curr is his name.
Yeah, Curr, yeah.
Yeah, Sammi Curr, yeah. So they did all the Sammi Curr songs. And Fastway was started in the early 80s by Fast Eddie Clarke after he left Motorhead, and Pete Way from the band UFO, and this guy named Dave King, who was the singer. Now, when I first found this out years and years and years ago, it was shocking to me. But Dave King would go on to a very successful music career, and even that he still keeps going to this day as the lead singer of the band Flogging Molly.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, he sings completely different. His voice sounds completely different. But yeah, the guy that sings for Flogging Molly today was the singer for Fastway up until 1986.
And he
sang on the trigger. Yeah, he sang the vocals on this.
That's crazy.
Yes. It's almost as shocking as the day that I told you that Carnivore became typo negative.
Yes.
But yeah, it's almost that shocking. But yeah, it's just a completely different kind of music. And to think that guy's been around that long. But
wow. But
yeah, so this is the last thing they did. They broke up right after this. But they did the soundtrack to this, and I used to have this soundtrack on cassette. I love this.
Yeah, it's
soundtrack.
a nice one.
Fastway is an incredible band.
Yeah, I listened to it in the truck today, driving back from my job, and I was like, "Fuck, man, this is pretty good." Like, I love the main song,
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat, yeah, I love that one. But I also like the one like "Tear It Down," or like "The Kids Have Enough,"
Yes, it's awesome.
This is like this whole soundtrack. Actually, this is a really good soundtrack because the music is actually pretty good Halloween, kind of like like metal. Like, but it's totally like the singing is totally 80s. You know what I mean? Like totally hair band 80s and stuff. But I was digging it. Now,
but it still has like balls to it, though.
Yes. Now I'm trying to figure out if I like this music in this horror movie more than I like Black Roses. What do you think?
Oh man, that's tough. Black Roses soundtrack really good.
I know. Fuck.
Yeah, we did Black Roses a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's like one of our really early reviews. Check it out in the archives, everybody. Really fun movie. Semi-similar to this. Just
similar.
Yeah, little difference. But the music is very, very similar, and they do have a big rock performance in that movie as well. Man, this is a tough one. Like,
if you go back to listen,
I actually loved his performance in the high school. Like when we get there, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that was great.
And I love the soundtrack too. Like I was rocking it all the time. I was like, man, this is great. But it's crazy to think he went to Flogging Molly, like some sort of like progressive, hipster band, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like a kind of Irish folk. All that shit was really popular for a while, like in the early 2000s, I guess.
Yeah.
All that kind of like all these bands ripping off the Pogues kind of became popular, and he was like, he rode the wave of that shit all the way to the top. You know, when Dropkick Murphys stopped being punk rock and became like that kind of music, and
he kind
of rode that to the top. And I mean, good on you, man. I'm glad Dave King made it. I'm glad he's making a living, doing what he loves to do.
I wonder, like, I would definitely go to his show, be like, bro, can you just play me some songs off Trick or Treat? That's what I came here for. You know what I mean?
That'd be great. Like, if I did a meet and greet with him, I would definitely have him sign some Fastway records.
Oh yeah, that'd be fucking awesome
for me. Like, I don't know, like he'd be like, "Why are you having me sign this?" I'm like,
bro, you know why. Don't lie. You know why. All right, come on, brother.
I don't think he denies it. Like he doesn't talk about it a lot, but I don't think he denies it.
No, I mean
he was in a.
It's just the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The time period, the 80s was 80s hair band, especially 1986. Are you kidding me? That's what the fucking peak probably was.
Yeah,
of hair bands.
Yeah.
So.
And then he had Fast Eddie Clark on guitar, which, I mean, anybody should be proud to be in a band with Fast Eddie Clark. I mean, that's amazing.
That's pretty cool. I like the history. Very fun. Very, very fun over here for the Halloween episode. And boy, this beer is hitting me good. This one's from Winston-Salem, which I'll actually be there tomorrow. Very fun.
What is it? What is it? Founders?
It's Foothills. Foothills Brewery.
Foothills. That's what I'm going to say. Foothills, yeah.
I need to go visit them, man, because their beer is fantastic. Good shit. Good shit, everybody. Check it out. Check out your local beer shop. You know what I mean?
Drink your local beer. I mean, I'm drinking beer from Ireland, but you drink local beer.
Yeah, better. You gotta spice it up sometime. I started off with the Sammy Adams. They ain't fucking ain't local.
That's true. But, yeah.
But let's get into some of the who booked this shit.
This is interesting and surprising, too.
So Trick or Treat was also known as Ragman and the Death at 33 RPM. Say that 10 times fast.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I don't even know what to say. Death at 33 RPMs. I guess that's kind of cool. Trick or Treat Trick or Treat doesn't really make sense either. I mean, I guess it takes place on Halloween. We
have one trick or treater here.
We do have one trick or treater in this.
But you know what's funny though? The other Trick or Treat, which is probably the more famous one, they both had a Sam in them.
I know. I like the other one too. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Yes.
But anytime I say, "Have you seen the movie Trick or Treat?" This is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the other one.
You might need to clarify it next time, Alice. You gotta say the '80s Trick or Treat.
No, there's only one Trick or Treat.
Well, there's also another one we did last year, too. I believe it was last year. No, it wasn't last year. It was like 2 years ago. Trick or Treats.
Yeah, we did Trick or Treats.
Remember that one? God, that sucked. Uh-huh. But check
it out. They should do a triple play of Trick or Treat, or Trick or Treats.
Bro, talk about the three most opposite movies from each other.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
That would be, they do not go together at all.
So this movie was directed by Charles Martin Smith.
Yes. Do you know who that is?
No. Who did he ever beat?
Well, he didn't beat anybody, but I'll tell you who he is. So he's an actor, and that's how I know him. Have you seen the movie The Untouchables?
Oh, the animated one?
No, the one with Kevin Costner about the gangster of them trying to catch Al Capone.
No, but I should. I love gangster movies. Very interesting.
Yeah, you should watch that. It's a really good movie. But in that movie, the guy that they get, the little guy that they get to, he's like an accountant that works for the FBI, and he's the one that's like looking through Al Capone's tax records. That's Charles Martin Smith.
Interesting. I just burped on camera. Or on the
So
audio.
he so he directed this movie, but he to me he is most known as an actor.
Yeah.
And he also directed some other completely unrelated movies to this. Like he's directed
Air Bud.
Didn't he direct those dolphin movies too?
Yeah, Dolphin Tail.
Dolphin Tail. Yeah, he directed the Dolphin Tail.
Is that like Free Willy?
It's like Free Willy.
I like Free Willy, bro. Remember that movie?
Yeah,
the fucking
I'm not a fan, but yeah.
the fucking Will, the thing he jumped over the kid somehow. Like it's like physically impossible to do that. Very interesting.
Yeah.
This guy loves animals. A Dog's Way Home.
Yeah, he directs a lot of movies about animals.
Snow Walker.
Yeah,
bro. Then he did Trick or Treat. Interesting. His first one.
Yeah,
very
weird,
interesting.
Huh? Yeah, he never went back to horror movies again.
He's like, fuck it, brother. I got my fill. All right.
I'm gonna go make my dolphin movies now.
So obviously it had Gene Simmons in here and Ozzy Osbourne. You know, special guest appearance. They didn't do a whole lot. You know what I mean? They just kind of just showed up. But it was cool. It was actually pretty cool that he got them two in this movie, because those are one of the two as biggest, rock legends of all time. Both, I'm pretty sure they're both I know Ozzy's a Hall of Famer. Is Danzig a Hall of Famer yet?
Why do you keep saying Danzig? It's Gene Simmons.
Yeah, I mean Gene Simmons. My bad. Yes, Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons is in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Kiss is in the Hall of Fame now, so he's in there. Ozzy's in there twice. He was in there for Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And he just got inducted like last week or whatever for his solo career.
You know what I think it is about Gene Simmons? Maybe when he's in his get-up, his like Kiss get-up, maybe I always think he's like bigger than he is. Maybe it's the platform.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe it's the platform shoes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It definitely is.
Because he looks
the
bigger.
Kiss gimmick makes him look bigger. Yeah.
Like I'm not saying he's like ripped, he's like ripped and stuff, but he's like, it makes him look a little bigger. This he kind of just looks like some normal dude.
Yeah, I was about to say he just looks like some dude, like some guy that might be a rock DJ or something. Yeah.
So
and it also has Marc Price. Marc Price played Ragman.
Yes.
Or Eddie, whatever you want to call him. I know him because he was on a show called Family Ties. He played Skippy.
Yeah, Skippy. Yes. Very interesting.
And I remember that
he did look kind of familiar.
Yeah, he's I remember him as Skippy from Family Ties. I wonder what else he's done.
So let's see. He hosted a game show, Teen Win or Lose or Draw, on the Disney Channel.
That's weird.
That's very weird. While hosting the game show, Price played the young American tourist calling himself Michael J. Fox.
Oh, that's funny. Because Michael J. Fox was on Family Ties. He was the star of Family Ties.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, he did pretty good in this film. I actually am surprised he wasn't a more of a sought-out actor. But I guess around this time there probably wasn't a whole lot of like rocker heroes in movies.
No, not really. And then Tony Price played Sammi Curr. He's an actor. I mean, a dancer.
Oh yeah, we can tell.
Yes, we can tell. But the role of Sammi Curr was originally going to be played by Blackie Lawless from Wasp, which you can tell because Sammi Curr looks just like Blackie Lawless in this movie. But that didn't happen, so we got a dancer instead. Yeah,
it doesn't really say why. Maybe they just couldn't I don't know, maybe they couldn't just get him down or something. Or very interesting though, because I mean, like basically the Sammi character looks almost exactly like him. Very young version of him.
Yeah, the way he would have looked in 1986. Yeah.
So, a couple of stuff about the production of this film. All right, we have there's a film title called Lunch of the Dead. Is displayed at the marquee at cinema. According to the International Movie Database, Lunch of the Dead does not exist as a movie, and therefore was an invitation from the props department.
Yeah, which is kind of weird that they didn't use the name of a real movie because they used like real T-shirts and real posters of real bands.
Of real bands, yeah.
But I guess everything else was real in this.
Yeah, it was just that one scene where he's like running and you see the Lunch of the Dead on there.
Yep.
Very interesting. But yeah, like all the stuff was like real posters and shit. And I was like, then he just goes and fucking tears them all down.
Oh yeah, dude! Like when he was ripping those vintage posters off the wall, that was hurting my heart. I was like, no.
So we have this. This I found is interesting because this hits my '90s heart. We have special effects of the film were created by Kevin Uger, who later provided the effects for Freddy Krueger and one of my favorite shows of all time, Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome, bro.
He kind of got his start on this movie.
Yeager has also cameoed in the movie as a lead singer guitarist for the band The Kickers, playing at the high school Halloween dance. The Kickers were the first band we were supposed to play until Sammi does his rating powers and knocks them all off.
Yeah, he's the guy. I guess he's the guy who's like messing with his amp.
Yeah.
When Sammi Curr comes out of it.
Yeah. But he does some good shit. I'll give him that. Even though like we really didn't see we only had like one demon looking thing. Which is like when that goblin shows up after after that green smoke fornicated with the girl
in the car.
In the car, yeah, we'll get there.
But yeah, apparently also Gene Simmons was offered the role of Sammi Curr, but he didn't like the script of the movie, so he turned it down. But he decided to be in it in a cameo anyway. Apparently.
Yeah, it's like
because it was a paycheck, I guess.
Very interesting about Gene Simmons, man. Like the marketing genius guy of Kiss.
Oh yeah,
in this movie, just showing up. I wonder how much he asked for.
A lot.
And he probably wanted up front. Yeah, he wanted up front too.
No, yeah. The thing about Gene Simmons during this time was that he, from what I can read in like Peter and like in Paul Stanley's autobiography, Gene was pretty much absent from Kiss during this era. Okay. He was trying to make it as an actor.
Gotcha.
And even though Kiss was putting out music and going on tour, he was kind of doing like the bare minimum. Like he would go in and like sing his songs and then he would just go back out and try to make another movie. And he was trying to like make it in movies in Hollywood and kind of get away from Kiss during this time.
Yeah, that's probably why he looked like he did. That's what I'm guessing. Because, I'm probably not, putting on the total weight or nothing like that.
Yeah, well, like he had kind of short hair too.
Yeah. To be honest with you, he looked like a normal dude.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, I mean, anybody's going to look more normal when they're not wearing demon makeup.
But I thought he was okay, though, for his little tiny role he had.
Yeah, he was fine.
So I thought this is interesting, too. So scenes at Eddie's school, the fictional Lake Ridge High School, was filmed at both Hoggard High School and New Hangover High School in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yep. This was a North Carolina production. Not
too far from us.
Well, 6 hours, but yeah.
It's a couple of days.
It's maybe not that far.
A 2-day trip.
Yes, for me, it's a 2-day trip. I have to stop at a hotel on the way that far.
So, speaking of the Gene Simmons, turning down the role of Sammi, which, to be honest with you, I don't think it would have been as cool if he played the role.
I agree.
I mean, the guy who played, like, at least he looked like what Hollywood wants a hair metal satanic rocker to look like. All right? And Gene Simmons, his old self at this time, it wasn't fitting the bill. So
no, he was probably late. Well, that's probably 30 something, I guess. During this.
So I guess Simmons later he said in a video he chose to play the role Wolfman Jack, a child hero of his. So I'm guessing Wolfman Jack was a disc jockey. Okay.
I knew this was going to come up. So I had a feeling you wouldn't know who Wolfman Jack is, and I the only reason I know who Wolfman Jack is because I just have this weird interest in like weird old shit.
Yes.
But Wolfman Jack was a DJ who I know because he was on some TV shows in the 80s. But he had this, he called himself Wolfman Jack, and he had this really, really growly, raspy, deep voice. And that's kind of how, I guess people from like, well, I don't know. I guess Wolfman Jack was like a 60s, 70s, maybe a 70s thing too. And I guess he was going to try to play the role like that, which he did a good job. When I first saw it, it's like, oh, he's like Wolfman Jack. But yeah, Wolfman Jack was he was probably the most famous DJ, of his time, I guess. But like, I never actually listened to him on the radio, but I know him as from TV appearances that he would make in the 80s.
Very interesting. And apparently the title of Sammi Curr's unreleased album, Songs in the Key of Death, is a play on the title of Stevie Wonder's 1976 album, Songs in the Key of Life.
Yes. Songs in the Key of Death is a great name.
Yes. So Sammi Curr was basically doing, like, he pulled a Metallica, where the Beatles had the white album, and then they do the black album.
Mm-hmm.
So he
did Songs in the Key of Death instead of Songs in the Key of Life.
Yes,
exactly.
So very cool. I like it. And some of the box office. Apparently, this movie grossed like around 6 million. It's not too bad.
I mean, not bad for they only had a budget like 3 million. So
yeah, 3. Good. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure like 2 million of that went to Gene Simmons.
Probably,
and
yes.
Then a million of that went to the lighting effect for Raiden, aka Sammy, and then 5 of it went to the rest of the staff.
Yeah, and the rest of the movie, yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne probably got like how much do you think he got? 20,000?
I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea how much these people made for cameos in movies.
All I know is
it's literally in one scene. Like Ozzy and Gene Simmons probably worked like one day.
Yes, but I guarantee you, Gene Simmons got more for his role than Ozzy did. Guarantee you.
Yeah, I guarantee you did. Yeah, absolutely guarantee.
Because this guy is a Mr. Marketing over here. There's no way he's not going for at least $1 million.
Yeah. Plus, Ozzy was on his way back up at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this was 86, so he was like, he was doing Bark at the Moon during this.
Yeah, which we talked about.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yes. Here on the Retro Blood, brother. But everybody, I say we start this Halloween party off.
Mm-hmm.
Let's drink some more beer.
Just do it.
If you're all getting ready for your Halloween parties, handing out candy to trick-or-treaters, staying at home watching some horror movies, whatever you do for your Halloween season, I hope you're all listening to the Retro Blood, because we are about to review Trick or Treat.
Trick or treat.
Wake up, sleepyhead.
It's party time!
Rock and roll will never die. At least not this Halloween.
I've heard of raising spirits from the dead by incantations, right?
Yes.
I did that by playing the record backwards.
You're kidding.
Sammi Curr. He's a rock and roll nightmare.
I am a big fan of yours. I've got all your records. Shut up!
You're the bait. The bait is you.
This message is meant for me.
How can you listen to this stuff?
Shut it off! Shut it off!
What have you done to your stereo?
I wanted a new one.
Sammi Curr. His fans won't let him die. He won't let them live.
You should be loyal to your hero. Make it turn on you.
Trick or treat.
Looks like we better check out the party punch.
All right, everybody. So we start off with some sort of like satanic talk about like Lucifer and
Yes, I forgot about that.
And like, listen, guys, I write notes for this, but I can't capture everything. Okay. They were talking about Lucifer and bending to his will. And the main premise of this story is the what do they call it? Backwardsing or something?
God, what do they call it? Backmasking?
Yeah, backmasking. Yeah, it's like some
where it's backwards,
yes.
and you play it backwards and you hear it forwards, and it tells you to like go.
Apparently, this is a big like religious deal or whatever. A bunch of these religious freaks out there thought if you took a rock album and you played it backwards, they'd give you a bunch of Satan talk on there. So that's basically what most of this movie is about, and that overtone.
Yeah, because that was a big deal. Satanic panic was a big deal during this time.
So we
the
start
Satanists were coming to get you.
Yes. Even in their evil rock songs, brother. Which is thinking, like, what was else? I mean, what was everybody listening to at this time besides rock music? Was it was it? Fucking what's her name? Who's in wrestling?
Cyndi Lauper?
Yeah, well, they just listened to a bunch of Cyndi Lauper on loop the whole time.
I mean, probably. Yeah, I mean, Cyndi Lauper was probably popular. Michael Jackson was big in 1986.
He did Thriller. I mean, fuck.
He did Thriller, yeah. What I'm trying to think of what were people listening to? Like, what were people listening to that?
Yeah, it was so innocent.
They would bully. They would attack me for listening to Metallica.
I mean, like fucking rap music was still crazy. You know what I mean?
But rap music was still underground though in 1986. Like that was like, I mean,
it had to be like disco or some shit. You know what I mean? Maybe.
I mean, I'm trying to think what did people like? Like I don't know, like shit like Michael Bolton and like
Michael Bolton.
Like I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what the top albums of 1986 were.
Yeah, look that up. Oh, it could be George Michael. He was good. You know what I mean?
That's probably around that time.
You know what I mean? Some love making music in
1986.
So all the jocks. So you're telling me jocks who are like testosterone dude bros would rather listen to George Michael than fucking thrash?
They weren't listening to thrash.
Very interesting.
I can fucking tell you that beyond a shadow of a goddamn doubt.
Well, what the fuck were they listening to? Country? Was country even a thing in 1986? This is very interesting to me.
I would. It is a really weird. It was a really weird time. Like it really. I mean, like, and like most of the things most of these stories that I tell, people don't believe, and people aren't going to believe the stories I'm going to tell tonight. I mean, they just won't. People just will not believe that these things happened, but they did. Let's see. What was Welcome to the Real World by Mr. Whitney Houston?
So you're telling me a dude bro, college guy fucking throwing a football around is rocking out to Whitney Houston while he's working out?
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to like bring up like personal experience, but like, I mean, I obviously never had any kind of musical conversation with these people, so I have no idea what they listen to. Yeah. I really don't.
I don't know either.
But
well, if anybody does, like, let us know.
I mean, they were probably listening to like Bon Jovi and stuff like that. I mean, that was acceptable because there's definitely. It's not like they hated all rock music, but they hated like anything that was heavy. Like,
I mean, the guy had a poster of Twisted Sister. Is that heavy?
Well, no, Twisted Sister's in that movie because they were popular at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
I can understand Anthrax.
Yeah, Anthrax was definitely underground. This was like before.
But even the Leslie girl, and she knew Judas Priest, which
Judas Priest was a huge band at that time. Yeah. They were huge.
So I'm trying to.
But I don't know.
Would you get beat up for liking? I mean, like that seemed like a recognizable band.
You wouldn't get beat up for liking Judas Priest. You were beat up for being different. You were beat up for being an outcast. Like Eddie's not bullied because he likes Judas Priest in particular. It's just because of who he is, because he likes it more than anything else.
Gotcha. Well,
I don't know. It's just hard to describe. Hard to describe.
Speaking of that, I did say, then we get this guy called Ragman, who's definitely a stan.
Mm-hmm.
For Sammy. He's like one of those hardcore fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For
then
sure.
we get some good old 80s songs in the background, all from the soundtrack. Everybody check it out. You can find it on Apple Music, by the way. That's where I listen to it.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of posters around his room. Anthrax, Ozzy, Twisted Sister. So I'm surprised we didn't see Venom on here. I mean, you want to be on fucking Underground, brother. Get some fucking Venom on there. You know what I mean? It's fucking... So now he's writing. So basically, he's being a super stan right now. He's writing the old "them against us" letter to his favorite musician Samuel.
Yeah.
And he's saying, like, I guess Samuel was such a big rock star that he wanted to go back to his high school and play a concert. So Alice, I'm thinking like, maybe I just have a different mindset. But if I'm a big rock star, I don't know if I would want to go back to my high school and play because I just wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, I find that completely disingenuous. I don't think anybody would ever do that.
But apparently, your boy Samuel did. He's like, you know what, brother? I'm gonna go back to my high school, and I'm gonna go rock out and be raging against all these kids that weren't even a twinkle in their eye when I was growing up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play in my high school gym.
I'm gonna play through all my staff and council teachers who told me don't be a rock star, and I showed them.
Yeah.
I was like, brother, you make shit ton more money than them. Like, that's already showed them. Okay. Very interesting. This is a very interesting, different mindset that we got in this movie. Thought that was fun. So he's doing the letters, like he's saying, like basically he doesn't understand all these airheads and stuff, and he's like, saying stuff like, they're all like being like, I'm different. All these arrows, they don't understand me. They don't go against the norm. And, like, to be honest with you, Alison, since I'm like a little bit of a 90s and 2000 kid, I was totally getting school shooter vibes. You know what I mean?
From Eddie?
From Eddie. I was like, oh, shit, bro. I thought this shit was going to go crazy for a little bit. Like, I didn't know what kind of movie this was. You know
but
what
see,
I mean?
that's the same thing, though. Like, so why would you think that, though? Like, why? Because he's different.
No. Because the way he was talking, basically, he was all like, listen, I don't need any of them. They're all a bunch of airheads out there. It's just me and you, Samuel. We're the ones that count.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit, brother.
I mean, I understand that. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been many times when, like, I'm just like, sitting in my room for hours with my headset on, listening to Iron Maiden for hours and hours and hours and hours because it's the only thing I cared about.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, the song's right. I get that. So, but I was definitely getting a little bit of like I was saying, like, I'm not saying he was. Obviously he wasn't. Or he was just a kid trying to, like, do his own thing. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure if they made this movie again, in, like, this time period, they would probably make him. Like,
which would be really sad because
it would be sad.
That would be proving the entire point of this movie.
Yeah.
Because they call Eddie a creep. Like he's creepy. Why is he creepy? Because he's different than you. Because he likes metal music that you don't like.
Yeah, which is very interesting. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing that's wrong with him. There was nothing. He didn't do anything to any of these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was just a guy trying to live his life.
Exactly. Like the moral of the story is fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, which is very true. He was just a dude who liked what he liked. People were like making fun of him for it for no reason.
Right. And it's not like he was even like trying to take their girlfriends away or anything like that. No. Like even the girl that liked him that was like in the jocks, like, friend group or whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't even interested in her.
Well, I mean, he was.
Well, he kind of was, yeah, but he was. He was
interested in her, but he wasn't all like, hey, baby. You know what I mean? Type of dude. You know what I mean? He obviously looked at her and he liked her and stuff.
Well, of course.
Yeah. But he didn't he's not like he was going out there being like, hey, baby, how about you come to my rental car and listen to my headphones and see if you can get molested by a green light. All right. He didn't do all that. But he did do, though, he was getting bullied.
He was.
Which especially during this time, the 80s, 90s and stuff. You know, bullying has been in schools for like pretty much ever. So
yeah, sure.
Eddie was getting it on here. By the way, his name is Eddie and Ragman. Which one do you want? Well, if you hear Eddie or Ragman, that's basically who he is.
Yeah, I have no idea why he's called Ragman.
Well, that's his gimmick name. You don't have a gimmick name, Alison? I do.
That is my gimmick name.
Mine is well, I'll say it on here. I never said this on the podcast before, but I came up with a alter ego.
Oh yeah,
known as Playboy.
Oh my god,
spelled with an I. You know what? All right. You've had too many. That's my rap gimmick, brother. If Eddie can have a rock gimmick, I can have a rap one too. Even though I'm like super pale, bearded white dude.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Rock and roll star. I can still have a rap. You know what I mean?
I.
With an I. You know what I mean? With my shades on and everything.
Oh
yeah,
my god, this is fucking fantastic.
I'm gonna start writing letters to my favorite rappers.
This is.
It's a, hey Gucci man, it's only me and you in this world. Okay.
This is. Oh, I'm so glad this is being recorded forever.
Bro, I told everybody out here the Halloween episodes get crazy. Am I not? Do I not lie?
No, you don't lie.
I don't give a fuck, bro. I tell you, man.
I learn something new every year.
All right.
Playboy.
All right. Anyway, our boy Eddie over here is getting bullied. Okay.
Yeah.
And they throw him out there naked in front of the volleyball girls. And to be honest with you, I think he could have fucked at least one or two of them.
I think so too. Like, I think he should have leaned into this.
Like, he could have had a huge Johnson. We just don't know about it. You know what I mean? He didn't. You know what I mean? Like Leslie, she was all digging it, man. She's like, "Damn, look at that thing." She wanted to go right there.
She did kind of immediately get interested as soon as she saw him naked.
Saw his ass. All right. Yeah. I was like, "Damn, all right." I was like, "That's how you do it? Throw me out there, brother. Throw me out there in the volleyball team. Hey, baby." Uh-huh. So they take a picture of him, and obviously he's, well, you know, I forgot to admit, they poked a hole in his chocolate milk, and it got over his shirt. So they're all like, you know, this is all like super like 80s bullying and shit that goes on.
Yeah, this is shit that doesn't matter. This is just like shit that you can get over.
So now, he basically we could see the whole thing. Eddie's basically writing to Sam saying like, you know, like he really respects this Sam guy because Sam pretty much became a big rock star. All right. And he went to the same school as Eddie did. And he made it. He made it to the top and everything. So Sam basically, Ed writes basically like super fan letters to Sam. I don't know if he has like his address. I don't know if he has a P.O. box. I have no idea. But he writes some letters all the time about how it's just him and there in this world and shit like that. And he ends it by saying like, you know, you hold me together. You did it. All right. You did it for the school and everything. And he's super sad that the school canceled his Halloween performance that Samuel was supposed to do. All right. And then he says that you're your best man, Ragman, your friend forever.
Yep.
So we have then now we're saying some news clips of Samuel on there. He's talking his music and his concert, how it's very controversial, how the school board denied his Halloween party request. All right. I like my notes here. Some old bitch school teacher hates rock music. And then they start talking, which I didn't know was a thing. And I don't know if I can find this on Pornhub or not. Maybe you could tell me, Alison. They're talking about rock pornography. What does that look like? Is that like a bunch of like hair people fucking?
Rock pornography.
Yeah, rock pornography.
Isn't that what Ozzy's talking? No, that's what the lady's talking about.
Yeah.
Rock. I think she's talking about any kind of like, you know, heavy metal. Heavy metal is rock pornography. Like Judas Priest.
Oh, okay.
Grinder.
Like Leather Daddy shit?
That's pornography. No, she's just saying, I think, no. She's saying that like any of that stuff is pornography. It's all bad for you.
Oh.
You can only listen to like, you know, the Andrews.
Well, I mean, wasn't Elvis like the biggest like pornography guy during that time? Like, didn't they have to censor his ass?
In the 50s, yes, that's true. Yeah.
Very interesting. Maybe everybody's listening to Elvis.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe. But Elvis
All
is
the
acceptable
jocks.
at that point, I guess.
Yes. Takes a little while, you know what I mean? So after we do this, so now they're talking about, how he was a controversial figure. And apparently there was like some sort of like court meeting where Samuel had to like defend himself in front of a bunch of like bureaucrats.
Yeah.
I guess saying like, hey man, this is just my music and my art and stuff. And the guy's like, I got a teenage daughter. I was like, what does your fucking daughter have to do with me? That's what I would have said. All right.
Right.
So, very interesting. And then we find out that Samuel actually died from a hotel fire at the age of 38.
Yes. Which was shocking to Eddie, Ragman. Yes. And he goes to see Nuke, the DJ, played by Gene Simmons.
Yes. So he goes to see
Nuke. Yeah. Yeah. Nuke went to high school with Sammi Curr. So they're the same age.
Yes. Well, also, too, right when Ed heard the news of Samuel dying in the fire, that's when he decided to be pissed off and tear down all his rock memorabilia, which I don't really understand too much, but I guess
he was just acting out. He was upset and he didn't know what to do.
But he kept his Samuel poster. Of
course. Well, he was going to rip it down, and then he was looking at it, and Sammy was like looking at him, so he's like, no, I'm going to keep this one.
Let's see. I was a big fan of Tupac. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In the 90s.
Yeah.
And I remember when he died, I don't remember ripping up a bunch of stuff. But I guess we all do it a little differently. You know what I mean?
I guess we do. We all handle grief a little differently.
So, very interesting. Mm-hmm. So, now we had the DJ telling us to wake up, sleepyheads. And he's talking about, then Eddie comes in, and they talk about a little bit about Samuel's death and everything.
Yeah.
And then Eddie's talking to him like he's like, some sort of god. And then, Nuke was like, hey, man, he wasn't a god and stuff. He was always angry. Like he said, like, you didn't really know him that well. I knew him very well, and he was always an angry guy. Okay? And Nuke was basically saying, like, he did all this stuff to himself. Like, he believed his own hype so much that he basically, ended up killing himself because he probably pissed off the wrong person. They probably fucking killed his ass. Mm-hmm. And then Eddie's like, no, man, like, he stood up for what he believed in. You know what I mean? Like, to the very end. Like, he didn't, he didn't turn corporate, all right, like that Flogging Molly guy.
He didn't sell out like the Flogging Molly guy.
First of all, if what's the guy's name what was that band? Laser? What were they called?
Fastway.
Fastway, yes.
Yeah, Dave King is this.
Bro, if Eddie was the biggest fan of Fastway, like him now, I'd be like, oh god, they fucking sold out, motherfuckers.
Yeah, yeah.
He blew what he's standing, and look what happened. He got that. He's kind of like the retro blood. You know what I mean? Right now we're punk rockers, but if somebody buys us out, we'll be fucking turncoats. It's quick.
Oh yeah, we would sell out in a second.
Yes.
So be like at
least we're honest.
Corporate sponsored retro blood, like Budweiser brings you retro blood.
We'll be the PG. We'll be like the PG podcast. Like, oh yeah, guys.
We don't talk about joy trails or titties or anything anymore.
Yeah, we don't do any of that. All right, we're corporate now. Uh-huh.
Wearing suits and ties on the show.
So basically, yes. So basically, Nuke is like, here you go. Here, this is Samuel's last record, which is the one we talked about. And he's like, this is the last copy. I was gonna play it. I'm gonna play it on Halloween.
Well, it's the only copy.
Well, kind of. He said, here's the only copy that's available, and it's all yours. And he's like, well, how are you gonna play it on Halloween? Oh, I got a tape over there. I could play it.
Oh yeah, well he made a tape of it so he could play it, but it's an acetate. So an acetate is like a test copy.
Yeah.
So I guess Sammi Curr sent Nuke a test copy, and he gave the test copy to Eddie because Eddie was down about his hero dying.
Yeah. So he gave him the record and everything.
Yeah.
And then of course Eddie's all happy, and it's like the best gift he's ever got. And it means a lot to him. And then, of course, he's also says, I guess Sam knew him. Because he said, like, I think Sam would want you to have this. So
yeah, he knew him. Yeah, they went to school together, and it's kind of implied that he was still in contact with Duke.
Yeah. So now this is when we meet Eddie's friend Roger. Okay, Roger's like, I didn't know you'd show up to your class because the man Sam died. They start talking for a little bit, and then Leslie shows up, and she introduced herself to Ed. Of course, Ed's been following her the whole time. And she's like, hey, well, here you go. And she gives him the naked photo of themselves, and then she invites him to a pool party. And Eddie, in Nervous Man style, agrees to go to the pool party.
Yeah, but before we get that far, I want to tell another story.
Go ahead.
So Roger, this was shocking to me too. I could not believe this. So Roger is played by Glenn Morgan. Now, you will know who Glenn Morgan is when I explain this. So Glenn Morgan and James Wong were two writers that worked on the X-Files.
Oh,
like
shit.
The two most famous writers on the X-Files. They wrote a bunch of like really famous X-Files episodes.
Yeah.
And they did some other stuff too, like Millennium, and they wrote Final Destination movies and things like that. But that is who he is.
That's crazy.
So I guess he was an actor when he was a kid.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
this Roger guy actually reminded me a lot of you. And
funny that you would say that because I could relate to Roger a lot. Actually,
we'll get there, and I'll explain to you the exact moment I was like, "Yep, that's Alison." We'll get there. So now Eddie's all hanging out in his room and everything, and he drives off into his very metal car. I was like, hell yeah, brother.
Yes, the metal car. I love that. So when I was early high school, I guess, my friend Mark had a car that looked almost exactly like that.
I like it.
And it was like, I don't know, like a late 70s, I guess, or maybe very early 80s, like, not really a muscle car like a Trans Am or a T-Bird would be, but it was a car like that with a really, really heavy engine in it. And like we would like drive around listening to like metal cassettes.
Hell yeah. That's the way to do it, man. I love it.
I need to find Mark. I know he lives in Nashville.
Let's get him on here, bro. Let's party.
Oh, that'd be awesome. He's a cool dude. He's a drummer, professional drummer in Nashville. Yeah.
Play some cassettes.
I haven't talked to him in 30 years, but he's a good dude.
Just be like, bro, I was watching Trick or Treat and I thought of you.
Thought of you.
He'll be like, fuck yeah, bro, metal.
Oh, hell yeah. He would love to talk. Anyway, I'm digressing, talking about my buddy Mark. But yeah, he had a car just like that, and we would ride around listening to heavy metal.
Now, did you guys go to an after-school pool party?
We never went to any parties.
Come on,
and for the very reason, we never went to any parties. For the very reason of what you're going to see in this next scene. This is why we never went to parties.
So I to be honest with you, I don't know what Eddie, bro, this guy was thinking with his dick.
Okay? He was, yeah.
Because I don't know what he was thinking about going to this jock pool party when all the jock dudes were bullying him the whole time. This guy
wait a minute. Wasn't he, Leslie invited him, right?
Yeah.
But she wasn't there when he got there. That was the problem.
Yeah.
So if she had been there, it would have been different.
No,
but it ended up.
They still would have put his ass in the pool. They don't give a fuck. Bro,
you're right. They would have.
This Tim guy, bro, this bro Tim guy didn't give a fuck what Leslie's. We'll see that later. He don't give a fuck what Leslie
that guy's
thinks.
a piece of shit. But but he no, you're right. It would have been the same. But at least he would have. Okay, so he kind of turns against Leslie because he feels like she set him up.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's get there. So he shows up at the pool party.
We're not there yet, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
He shows up at the pool party. Everybody's in swim gear. He's on his jeans and shit. I'm like, come on, bro.
He's wearing his metal stuff.
which
is exactly what I would do. I would just show up in my like fucking jeans.
Which is obviously low cool awesome, but it's also like, what the hell are you doing? Okay. And they're
I love that.
The jock dudes are like, what are you doing here, bro? It's like, I'm looking for somebody. And then this girl, Julia, which we'll meet her later, trust me. She's like, hey, let me ask you an honest question. Is it hard being creepy? I'm like, what the fuck kind of crap is that?
That shit, like, this was the first scene that really bothered me. And, like, when I say it bothered me, like, I was really triggered by a lot of this shit. Because a lot of shit like that is stuff that actually happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just minding my own business, I'm not trying to be friends with any of these fucking people. I don't want to be friends with any of these fucking jock rednecks. I don't give a fuck what they're doing with their lives.
Yeah.
But they would always like invade my life and ask me questions like, why are you so creepy? What's wrong with you? Are you a fucking serial killer? Like, yeah, I'm going to fucking kill you. So get away from me.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird. Like, I remember getting like a little bullied about that because I was always like, there was a time period when I was younger. I was like a very, very quiet kid. Like, I wouldn't say anything. Nowadays, I can't even shut up. But like back in the day, brother, I was like quiet as shit. So I would get those every once in a while, like, hey, why are you so quiet and everything, like all this shit. And like, it was just so strange to me. It's just like, well, why did you fucking care? Like, I'm not physically talking to you at all. So like, why does it matter?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why, like, and then later on, like, since I was always like a little lucky because I was always like a tall, big dude. So I didn't get messed with too much because of the way I looked. You know what I mean? But yeah, like it's annoying. Like, what the fuck? So what, bitch? Okay, what does it matter? Why do you think? And like, it was so strange to me because to me, like especially how I am now, like I listen to all this, music. Like me and you do. We obviously me and you live the gimmick, bro. We go to metal shows, we go to horror movies and stuff. I don't give a fuck. I'll wear a metal shirt anywhere I go. I'll wear a horror movie shirt anywhere I go. Like fucking, I was in Salem last week. I was fucking wearing like this satanic shirt all around town. I didn't give a fuck. People were looking at me, semi strange. I don't give a shit. Like when you don't care, it just doesn't matter. I like it. Right. That's all that matters.
Exactly. I wear my battle jacket to the grocery store. Fuck those people.
So, but when you get older,
it's also a different time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when you get older, like us, you don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So even more when you're a kid. When you're a kid, you don't give a shit, but then you do give a shit because you're still in your youth, your youthful years. So,
you want to have friends, right?
Yeah.
You want to have friends. You want to have a girlfriend, and none of that shit's happening because you're just different, and you can't be like those people.
Well, what's very interesting about me. I'll go on about myself for 2 seconds. All right, but then we'll get back to the review. I've always been the guy who is very into like metal music. I love very like hardcore metal music, death metal. Not necessarily like super duper satanic metal, but like Behemoth or whatever, like very dark art origin style metal. And not a lot of times the way I am, the way I act, the way I sound, I don't necessarily sound like your normal like metal dude. Sometimes, I have a very, sometimes I can be very like a dude bro kind of guy.
Yeah.
Because, I did play sports. I do work out. You know what I mean? I do a lot of like jock things. So I've always been like a little mixture of both. So I've always had friends that were like dude bro normal guys. And I've always had friends that are like very metal guys at the same time. And I always liked that. Like it was like a mixture I did. So I always thought that was kind of neat. Like, so I would show up to some parties with all these normal guys dressing all rock star. Like, I didn't care. I just the way I looked. So.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was not like that. But like for me, it eventually changed because the world changed.
Yeah, exactly.
And it became. I didn't change as a person, but it became more acceptable to be the kind of person I was. And then once I started playing in bands too, that changed things. Like, once I started playing in bands, I got better at playing music. And then, then I was the guy that played in bands. You know what I mean? Like it was still like rejected by, the people that were listening to Poison and bullshit like that. But, it became more of an acceptable thing as I got a little bit older.
Yeah. I mean, just one of those things I was saying before, like, it's just one of those things like, the decades progress. Metal and stuff has become a little bit more of the norm.
True. Yeah, you're right. And people are less worried about like, like during this time also, like we mentioned Satanic Panic, but it was a big deal. Like it was a thing where there were people whose lives were ruined because they were accused of being Satanists.
Yeah.
They're like the McMartin child care case where all those people were accused of being like in a satanic cult, and they they were a lot of them were sent to prison for years because these little kids because a psychologist convinced these little kids that they were molested by Satanists, and none of that shit happened. But the media was convinced that there were these rampant Satanists, all over America that were kidnapping children. And I don't know, you didn't get a chance to watch that documentary I sent you, did you?
No. But okay, I would like to watch it, though.
But you should watch it. It's really good. It's called Satan Wants You. And it's basically about this woman named Michelle who wrote this book called, oh God, what is it called? Michelle Says or something like that. But she basically was like, became convinced that her mother gave her to a coven of Satanists. And then she has all these stories about how like these Satanists were like required to have children, and then they would sacrifice the children and eat them. And none of that shit was true. It was all fucking made up. It was just all fake. But like at some point, like they were in the documentary, they're talking about how at the time these people were claiming that there were 2 million missing children in the United States. And at the time there were only like 3 million children in the entire United States. So like, so you're telling me that 2/3 of all the children in the United States have been kidnapped. Like, it doesn't even make any sense when you think about it. But yeah, so it was a big deal at the time. So a lot of these people were like, are having their lives literally ruined because these fucking idiots were like convincing people that Satanists were out to get them.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Fucking crazy time. So, back to the movie. So, apparently Tim, the jock guy, the main jock guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't really figure out what kind of music fan he was. I was thinking country, but I was like, is country like a big thing at this time? I have no idea. So he hates metal. He called him Metal Ed. Hey, metalhead. I was like, okay, well, is that like an insult? I guess. So
I take that as a compliment, but whatever.
So he puts like this steel plate in Eddie's backpack, and he pushes him off.
Yeah.
All right, and then he's about to drown basically until Leslie saves him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, now Eddie is blaming Leslie, saying, like, oh, you basically set me up, and I'm going to nail them all. I'm going to nail them. Those fucking assholes.
So this particular thing did not happen to me. But things like this did happen to me and people that I know. Like, I can specifically remember, walking down a street or walking down a road, and then, the Tims of my high school or my, would drive their big fucking redneck trucks and try to run me over.
Damn.
I can specifically remember that shit like that did happen. Being I can remember like being chased down a street and running into a phone booth. And the only reason that I honestly believe to this day, the only reason that I survived this night was because there's a Dead Kennedys album where one of the songs is spoken word, and Jello Biafra is telling the story about how he's being chased by these rednecks, and he runs into a phone booth. And the way the phone booth doors worked at that time was they were folded up.
Yeah. So
you would push them closed, right? So like I remember him telling the story of like sitting on the floor of the phone booth with his back against one of the walls, and he put his feet up against the doors to hold them closed. So I remembered that, and I ran into a phone booth and closed the doors, and I was just praying to God that I was tall enough to hold the doors closed with my feet, and it worked. And I honestly believe that saved my life.
Damn.
Like, I believe that I would have been killed that night, or at least severely injured. And I know that people think that, oh, that's an exaggeration. That would never happen. Like, you don't understand how serious this was. Like, it was a big fucking deal. So like this part kind of triggered me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I got way more triggered as we go. But yeah, so this was a big fucking deal, and shit like this did fucking happen. This is very realistic. This is not an exaggeration in any way.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, like some of this stuff, especially this next scene where Eddie's like, he's playing the album, after a very traumatic event of him almost drowning and pissed off at a bunch of kids bullying him, which I can relate to. I did that too. Like I paid a couple CDs and stuff when you get bullied and everything, or you're having a bad day. And then he's playing he's playing the new the Samuel album.
Samuel Adams.
Samuel Adams. He's playing the new Samuel Adams album. Okay?
Yes.
Maybe that's his favorite beer too, Samuel Adams.
Maybe.
So he's playing it, and now he's like daydreaming of like this like burning house, and then Samuel doing some ritual shit. So you know what I mean? So like, you know what? We all had those dreams and we're pissed off. You know what I mean? Ritual shit happening, and I know I have, brother. There might have been some naked goth girls in there too, in my dream.
There always are.
Come on, brother. Come on now. So now, the album, like we said too, is Songs of the Keys of Death.
Yeah.
And now we're hearing the backwardsing. What do you call it? Backtracking? I don't know. So whatever you call it.
I think it's called backmasking. I believe that's what that's called. But yeah, so that was, I don't know. You probably heard about that Judas Priest trial where those 2 kids shot themselves. And one of them died, and one of them like just fucked up his face. And
yes,
they blamed. They were listening to "Better by You, Better Than Me," I think, by Judas Priest, and they were claiming that there was a backwards message in it telling them to kill themselves.
Oh yes.
And then when they actually went to trial, and Rob Halford testified, he's like, "Why would we tell our fans to kill themselves?"
Exactly. Of all
like,
the bands,
what kind of
too,
sense does that make?
Like when I think of like hardcore, like Satan, I don't really think of Judas Priest. I think of Judas Priest as more like the band who like. They talk about like real life issues. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the weird thing about it is like the Satan bands hadn't happened yet. Yeah. Like there was definitely some satanic type stuff. Like Molly Crew shot at the devil, and Slayer was out.
Well, what about
Slayer was still pretty underground.
What about Mayhem? They were kind of early.
Nobody knew who Mayhem was at this
true.
time. Not in America. Mayhem, I think Mayhem did form in like 1986 or 87.
Yeah.
And nobody in America knew who Mayhem was.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about Mayhem until like early 90s probably.
Yeah. They're like the first ones I could think of being very crazy.
Yeah, and obviously satanic.
I mean, I guess Venom was maybe like one of the first
Venom,
ones.
Yeah, Venom. I didn't think about that. Venom was big in the underground at that time. So yeah, Venom was a satanic band for sure.
Then they had a couple. They probably had a couple in the 80s, but not something like some like kid. You know what I mean? Like you had to really dig to find that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Venom was not a band I listened to at the time. They were just too underground. Yeah. You know, like I was listening to Iron Maiden and Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax and Armored Saint and shit like that. But like Venom, I didn't.
Well, I think Slayer was starting to come out.
Oh yeah, Slayer was Rain of Blood 1986 is the same year.
Yeah.
So yeah. I remember hearing that and like I couldn't believe it. Like I was like, I can't believe people could play music this fast.
But like, you know, Slayer was so fast. Like, how could he even? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just all that stuff is just so weird to me. But you know, they'll find a way to complain about anything.
Exactly.
So now Eddie, I guess since he heard these messages in his record, now he's starting to set up some traps in his high school.
Yeah.
So Leslie tries to
traps.
Leslie tries to talk to him at lunchtime, saying, "Hey, can we talk?" And he's like, "You set me up." Yeah. And then he goes right to Tim. Tim's laughing, calls him Aquaman. Ha ha ha! I'm a jock. All right. And then it's like, "Oh yeah." So he flips the tray over on his ass. And then they get all pissed off. Then we have the huge chase scene.
The chase scene was really cool.
It was cool. My favorite part is when the guy slips. Some random jock like slips and he like flies out. He like that's like a slipping slide out the door. I was like, damn.
And then when they're running through the library.
Yeah, the library, the music class.
Trying to walk real slow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then basically Eddie tricks them, and then Tim sprays the teachers, and then Eddie sneaks away.
Yeah, fuck Tim. Fuck that guy.
And he's like, oh,
I don't really like anyone named Tim. I can't think of anyone named Tim that I like.
Oh, come on. There has to be a cool Tim out there. You know what I mean? What about Timmy from fucking South Park? He was cool.
Oh, that's cool. I like Timmy from South Park.
Right.
Timmy's great.
All right.
Okay, that's one.
Tim the Terror? I don't know. They'll figure it out.
We probably have some listeners named Tim that are cool.
Yeah. If there's a Tim out there, let Alison know like you're cool.
Yeah, let us know. Let me know that all Tims are.
Or go tell him the F5. I don't really care. Okay. So now, so this guy, first of all, I don't know how they encompassed Alison onto a movie, but if there was one, it was this guy Roger at this particular scene. Check this one out.
Yeah.
So Eddie is super excited about this album. He's like, man, can you listen to that shit? You know, can you hear it? And Roger's like, yeah, man, it's like, it's good and thrashy. You know what I mean? And he's all like, he's like, but Eddie's like, no, man, but can you listen to it? Like the messages in there. He's like, yeah, man. It sounds like a bunch of other fucking backwards maxing shit he did. And he did that shit in Fuck with Fire, Burn in the Metal, Torture to Be Kind. Like, what's the problem? He does that shit all the time. I'm like, no, bro, can you hear it? And it reminds me of me being Eddie. And a new album comes out. I'm like, bro, this shit. Like, it's like me. It's like telling, like, bro, this Flesh God Apocalypse album is fucking awesome, bro.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I was rocking that shit all day. I went to a concert twice in Dallas. What do you think, Alison? It sounds like everything else. It sounds like everything else I heard all the time. I was like, this fucking guy. Can't you hear it? Can't you hear the sweet tunes I hear in my ears? No, I can't. It sounds like they're fucking... Yeah.
You're right. That's
it sounds like Fuck with Fire.
Sounds like everything else.
Actually, you would have been.
Fuck with Fire is a great name for a song. That's fucking badass. Actually,
Alison, you would have been like, Fuck with Fire. They had a little more tune back in the day with their shit.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly me.
I thought that shit was hilarious. Torture to Be Kind or whatever. They had some great albums. I had to like rewind it twice to get all the fucking albums he was thinking. All right, so now and then of course Ragman thinks, hey man, I think that message is for me. And then like Roger's like, oh god, this fucking Mark. No, it's not for you. Okay. He's like, yeah man, I listened to the message on here and I finally got revenge on the Jocks guys. Yeah. And Roger's like, listen, bro. Like, they just put that shit in the albums and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's just some corporate deal that they do.
Yeah.
Okay? And, of course, Ragman stares at the Sam poster. He's like, there's something going on here. So now he plays the song again, and he hears the messages. Okay, again. Yeah. And it's saying, you. All right, you. Ragman. I put laugh out loud in my comments. And then he starts asking the record a question, which, us as fans, when you listen to a nice little album, you might ask it questions. Okay? It says,
yeah, sure.
Was that message for me? And then the record says, yes, it was part of the plan. It's like, nail them all, remember? That's what the record said.
Nail them all.
Nail them all. And then the mom wants Eddie to go to bed. And then the records kept saying 666 Machine Crush. Which I don't really know what that means. 666 Crush Machine?
Yeah, we find out in a minute, though. Doesn't it say like 66?
Yeah, Crush.
Yeah, Crush Machine.
I guess we kind of do find out.
There's like 6 room. Yeah. Well, I'll explain it to you in a minute. But yeah, in the next scene, we find out about it.
So now it's the next day. Eddie goes to wood shop class.
Yeah, in room 66.
Okay.
Where the crush machine is.
I thought it said 666. Okay. So
I think it says 66 something. I can't remember what he said though.
Crush machine.
66 something crush machine. Yeah.
So Eddie sits down. He plays his tape and he eats a Twinkie. I was never a big fan of Twinkies.
Oh man, Twinkies are awesome.
Oh, my fucking. Ugh.
Have you ever had a deep fried Twinkie?
Ugh. Sounds like a fucking heart attack. Ugh. I'll throw up in that shit, brother. Ugh. I'd have been pissed.
It is very.
I'd have been pissed off for him.
Inducing.
I would have been pissed off for him. Why are you eating that shit, bro? That's what I would have said to Ed.
Yeah, we do have different diets, but yeah, deep fried Twinkie. Oh man, you just coat it in like batter and then you put it in the deep fryer. Oh, it's so good.
Ugh.
So good.
I'm gonna throw up, bro. I'm gonna throw up right now. Okay. Ew. I used to have a friend that ate Twinkies all the time. I might have made fun of him for it. That wasn't my fault.
They never go bad.
Really? Oh yeah. Okay.
Ever.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of
like
cool.
Twinkies from 20 years ago are still good.
So he's eating this Twinkie. Bro guy walks in, Tim. He's like, hey, man. I had to do janitorial duties because of you.
Not because of him. It's because you're a fucking asshole.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So he knocks Eddie's down. Okay. And he starts beating his ass a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He starts banging his head a little bit, throws him around. And then, no shit, he said this. And I couldn't really, like, get the... Okay, he's like, do you think I'm a pussy? Do you think I'm a wussy fucking weak tit?
Weak tit.
I don't know. I think I might have laughed if somebody said that. Like, you think I'm a wussy fucking weak tit? And I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean?
What are you talking about?
I think I would have been confused and start laughing because I just didn't know what that means. Oh. Like, is it like a weak, do you have like a weak tit? What does that mean? Does that mean the baby doesn't suck out of your tit good enough?
I have no idea. I mean, I got the general consensus of what he's saying, but yeah.
He's basically saying he's not a pussy. He's an asshole, basically saying.
Yeah, he's saying, like, do you think I'm a pussy?
Yes.
But, you know.
So he starts throwing tools at Eddie. Okay, he's basically just wants to beat his ass. It looks like he's about to kill him.
Yeah.
And then right before that, like he's like wearing like a tie, like a nice shirt and tie, and then the tie gets caught in the machine, and this machine is about to blow out his eye. And I was like, oh fuck, this is some sort of Italian shit going on here now.
I know, we almost got the Argento scene.
And then Eddie stops it at the last minute. Tim looks all confused, and he says, "This is not over yet." And then we hear the 6-6 crush in the background.
See, and that shit pissed me off too. Like, I was literally talking to my TV screaming at my TV at this point. I mean, it's like, you say it's not over, but I mean, Eddie could have just fucking ended it right here.
Exactly.
Eddie should have killed that motherfucker.
I know, and he did it. And this guy still wants revenge.
Yeah, like, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy.
So now Eddie does what we all done before. He drives fast in his car to metal music.
Yep.
Which I did today. But I didn't run. But I didn't run a bunch of red lights. I don't like when people do that. Okay.
You're more of a traffic law abiding
metalhead guys. Yes. Come on, man. You don't want to get in an accident. It's a nice truck.
You get in an accident.
Come on. So I think we all can. Everybody listening to this podcast who's a male or possibly female too, we could all relate to this shit, and I know I definitely can. Fucking Eddie's mom comes in and cleans his fucking room and messes with a bunch of fucking shit.
And puts everything in the wrong fucking place. Oh my
God, it just pissed me off. I was like, don't touch my fucking shit. Okay, I have it right where I wanted it. You don't need to go noosing around on everything.
I know where everything is.
And she goes and plays his fucking... She looks through his record collection.
Yeah, there's a Megadeth record in
there. There's a Megadeth one in there. I think we saw... God, there's another band on there we talk about all the time. Was it Anvil? There was some other band we talked about in there. Starts with an A. Let me see if I wrote it down.
There's an Exciter record.
I think that's what it was. Exciter.
There's Exciter.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of bands in there.
So mom, and then she like touches some shit. So the mom's like freaks out to the loud house music, and then the music is so loud it starts breaking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eddie looks at him like, "What the hell are you doing?" Mom's scared, and then Eddie, the mom just walks away. So I thought Eddie was gonna be pissed, but he just kind of looks confused about his mom going through his shit. I would have been pissed. I was like, "Bro, get out of here. What are you doing?" So Eddie's now playing the metal music backward again to get more messages. We see a scene of the Lake Ridge High School. It's a radio tribute to Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Eddie left a peace offering for Tim, which was like a cassette, a silver cassette tape. All right. And then now Roger is now telling Eddie, like, "Hey man, what's going on? I haven't seen you all day. Like, you didn't show up to your exam and you failed that test." And Eddie's just like, Eddie, every time Eddie listens to the record, he gets more ballsy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Which
Oh, I know what you mean.
I can relate. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
I pop on that fucking what's my new one I've been listening to? Oh God! Oh, I like that sound. Every time maybe I play a little Behemoth. I feel a little more ballsy after that. You know what I mean?
Behemoth is super ballsy.
So now, Leslie tries to talk to him and stuff. Okay, and our boy is smooth now, and he's like, "Hey, I like what you're wearing." She's like, "What? My pants?" He's like, "Yes, I like your pants."
Mm-hmm.
Smooth, brother.
That was smooth.
And it worked though, didn't it? By the end.
They did.
So now we have this this scene right here was fantastic. So now we have this car by the water, right? And we have Tim is trying to get some in the car. I think the girl's name was Julia, the girl from earlier who asked Eddie why she was creepy. Why he was creepy.
Yeah, she's also the one that took the picture of him naked.
Yes. So now, like, Tim has to stop because he has to piss. And I was like, brother, you know what? I think I've been in that exact scenario before. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to go. Even if you're getting it
when you gotta
brother.
go. Well, I mean, you don't want to pee on her, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, she might. You know, she might.
Maybe she does.
She might like that, bro. I mean,
Yeah,
she was
maybe
liking
she does.
some.
I mean, you know,
if you like a green smoke '80s cloud fucking you might like a little piss as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True. That's a good point. You're not wrong.
Was she wearing the yellow bandana?
I don't know. Maybe.
So he goes to piss. She starts listening to this tape.
Yellow bandana.
All right, and he's pissing out there, and she's listening to the headsets Nova 45. You ever had any Nova 45s?
No, I have no idea who that is. Nova 45.
So no shit. She's listening to this song. I don't know if she even knows she's listening to. And there's like this 80s green light that starts like fondling her body.
Yeah, and opens up her shirt.
And she's all like digging it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
well, yeah, of course. It's Sammi Curr.
It's the smoke version of Sammi fondling her.
Absolutely. The rock and roll green light.
So it's taking her clothes off, tits all out.
Oh yeah.
And he starts fucking her and stuff. And then out of nowhere, it's just some big goblin. And she freaks out.
Yes.
And I was just like, this reminds me of you ever seen that you ever seen that Japanese porn? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the tentacle fucking
you know what I mean?
porn. Yeah.
Got a little green light on there.
Yeah.
Got a little that goblin could have had like 9 penises. You don't never know. All right.
Good. That's a good point.
Maybe our boy the director was like, you know what? I'm on to something here. A goblin fucking a teenager girl.
Yeah, we need to make this goblin porn.
So then Tim comes back in and she knows like, oh man, what the hell happened? All right, this girl's all hot and sweaty now. And then she tries to take off the headsets and it melted to her ear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the Eddie's mom is doing some, the 80s aerobics. Okay, in her fucking room, which is weird. And no shit, she's listening to a news article, okay, or a news station, and the news thing is introducing Reverend Aaron Gilstrom, which is Ozzy Osbourne,
played by Ozzy Osbourne,
being a reverend who hates rock music.
Yes,
which is fantastic.
Yeah, he's playing all the people that were like that hated him at the time.
Yes, exactly. And when I saw this, I was like, "That is fantastic! Who thought of that? That is a great idea." I loved everything about that scene. And he's all just talking about like, he's all like these fucking they're just sick people. All right, they have sick songs and some weird sexual acts and everything. Like he's just talking about how bad, sick and sadistic all these rockers are.
Yeah.
All right. So now while this is happening, Tim shows up. He's all pissed off at Eddie. He's like, "Hey man, what the fuck did you do to her? She's in the hospital now." And he's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He's all like, "Man, that fucking tape you gave me, man. You stay away, man. I don't know what kind of weird voodoo shit you're into." And then like Tim walks away, just like, "Stay away from me." And then Eddie looks on like he looks like evil and he looks confused at the same time.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
But this, well, I mean, he didn't want to have anything to do with Tim. Like he didn't want to be friends with Tim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like Tim's like, "Stay away from me." Like you're the one that's fucking started this shit.
Exactly.
You.
It's like, I've been trying to, bro. I've just been trying to get me some ass and you keep cock blocking me with your asshole.
Exactly. Eddie should have drilled his fucking face in that fucking room 6-6.
So Eddie now plays the tape. He's all like, "Hey man, what happened to the genie?" He's like, the tape's like, "Cheap thrills."
Yeah.
I was like, "What did you do to her?" He's like, "Nail them all, remember?" He's like, okay, we got to end all this stuff. It's all over. We're ending this all right now. It's over. He's like, what about Leslie? She says, he's like, I don't want you to do anything with Leslie. She had nothing to do with it. And the tape's like, yes, she did. And then the mom knocks on the door, says like, hey, Tim's dad's calling you. And then
fuck Tim's dad.
And then he's like, hey, don't come in here. I'm not feeling well. And then the tape tells her to come in, playing up his voice, and they keep going back and forth. All right, and then the mom comes in. He's very sweaty and everything. He's like, yeah, I'm sick. Go get me some, some soup and everything. He pulls the plug. He gets pissed off at this stuff. He starts fucking up all the stereo equipment.
Yeah, when he smashed his turntables and stuff, that was breaking my heart.
He turns on the speaker. The speaker turns into a demon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we see some wall effects. That cool wall effects. It looks like somebody's coming out of the wall. Eddie's all worried. Then we finally have Samuel has now appeared as a demon. And no shit, I was like, oh shit, is this guy Raiden? Because he literally showed up like Raiden from fucking Mortal Kombat, bro. With all the electricity all around him.
Oh, yeah.
80s badass light and shit. He has half his face burns off. He looks around. Ozzy's on there saying, why can't we just have love songs nowadays?
And then he he
takes out of the TV.
Disintegrates Ozzy. Yeah.
Why can't we just have good old fashioned I love you songs now? Come on, guys. And then like he's like saying all these evil people need to be stopped. And then Sam keeps doing he does some more like Sam does rating on himself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then Sam tells Eddie, you gotta be loyal to your hero. And then the mom asks for Eddie. Eddie smashes the recorder player. And then mom walks in with the soup and everything. And then Eddie's like, oh yeah, it's okay. I was wanting a new one. And I was just thinking, like, first of all, hold on a second. I know this is like a movie and everything. But this mom, apparently she was single. She was dating some loser later that we'll find out. Yeah. But she has this full house, and this fucking Eddie guy, he had so many fucking records. Like, is this mom like rich or something?
No, but shit like that was easier to get then.
What's like $1?
Well, no, records were like, I mean, that's not ridiculous.
Not now, they're like $20 a pop now.
That's not ridiculous. Like, yeah, like, because, I wasn't really buying that many records then because cassettes were kind of like the big thing, and I could put them in my Walkman and, listen to them. But like, records were like, I don't know, $6, $7. And I remember cassette tapes being $9.99.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in like middle school, I would get $2. This is weird to think about now, but like I would get $2 to buy my lunch with.
Yeah.
At school. And because like lunch was like $1.70 or something. So I'd get $2 to take to school to eat lunch. But I figured out that if I skipped lunch, that I could buy a cassette tape or two at the end of the week.
There you go.
So at the end of the week, I'd have $10, and I would, and then when I on Friday night, I would go with my mom to go get groceries, and there was a Rose's department store beside the grocery store, and I would go there and buy a cassette tape.
There you go.
And I remember. And I would just, these are such good memories. Like I remember like buying Iron Maiden Live After Death, not knowing what it sounded like, just buying. I've told this story before, but like I bought it because of the cover and because it had a lot of songs on it. And it was $9.99, so I bought that. And I just remember like getting that and taking the shrink wrap off and putting it in my Sony Walkman, and just like it just blowing my mind. And like I was always listening to my Walkman. But yeah, like I would. But yeah, so that's not ridiculous. Like over time he would definitely be able to collect that many records because records are like, $6 or $7, $8, something like that.
So he's skipping his lunch, huh? God.
That, yeah.
Well, it looks like he's having enough Twinkies and chocolate milk. Maybe they were on the discount.
Maybe.
So now Eddie calls up Roger. Okay. And he's like, hey, Roger, I need you to go to Tim's car and take that tape away. He's like, oh, he's like, why? It was like, just go do it. I need you to do it right now. I need you to take that tape and destroy it. He says, I can't do it right now because I've been grounded through Halloween. And I need you to destroy the tape and give me a call. Okay? So Roger agrees to do that, and he breaks into Tim's car. He thinks he's going to die, but he doesn't. He gets a tape, and he rides off. And then he's about to listen to the tape. Eddie calls and says, hey, did you destroy the tape? Roger's like, yes, I destroyed the tape. He's like, what's going on with this? Like, just don't worry about it and stuff, and I appreciate you for doing that. So then Roger plays the tape that he didn't destroy, okay? And all these lights start flashing. There's some smoke in the living room, and the speaker blows out, and Sam appears. And he does his raiding powers, all right? Mm-hmm. And he tells Roger, you better play this tape tonight or you'll die. And, of course, Roger's like a super fan. And Samuel Demon doesn't care. He's like, play this fucking tape or you'll die. And then he kills the old lady bitch from the TV.
Yep. And then just disintegrates her.
Yes. So now we have Stan, which is Eddie's mom's boyfriend for the night. He's dressing up like some sort of soldier guy, and the mom loves it, even though it looks like some sort of like fucking some old dude.
Yeah.
So now Roger goes to the school Halloween party dressed as normal. Fucking asshole. Why didn't you put on a costume? Alright. So Leslie comes over to Roger saying, oh, are you playing some Judas Priest? And I was like, that was scripted.
Well, it is a movie, but yeah. But I mean, that would make sense, though. I mean, you know, she's like asking if they're going to play Judas Priest.
Or maybe what I would like. Name me one song.
Name 3 songs.
Yeah. You a real fan? Come on, girl. And she's like, and then she asks like, "Oh, you've seen Eddie?" He's like, "I haven't seen Eddie." And then she leaves. So Eddie starts. Eddie's listening to the radio, and the phone and the doorbell rings at the same time because the mom told him, "Hey, Eddie, you gotta hand out this candy for the trick or treaters."
Yeah.
So he opens up the door for the trick or treaters. He's like, "Hey, come back tomorrow." I was like, "It doesn't really work like that." All right. So Leslie calls Eddie, and she's like talking about like how she's at the concert, and Eddie says he's sick, so he couldn't come. And then Leslie's like, "Oh well, I'm probably gonna leave the show as well too." And then Eddie's like, "What is that in the background?" She's like, "I don't know, it's some sort of song." He's like, "Oh shit!" So Eddie like drops the phone, and he runs to his car and he heads out to the concert because he can hear that the song is being played now. Okay.
Yeah.
And he is now driving in his car, but now Samuel, with his raiding powers, he can take over car stereos. So now he has taken over the car.
Yes.
You know, I think every review we have done this month has had somebody take over their cars. I'm pretty sure every Amityville horror had somebody take over their cars, and now it's back here for trick or treats.
Yeah. You're right. It did. Every show this month, we've talked about like a demon taking possession of a car and nearly wrecking somebody.
So the car is acting wild, almost runs over a kid. The kid's like flies off into the water.
Yeah.
All right, and then of course he runs into a bin of stuff, and then Eddie stops the car, and it stops him on a bridge, and he almost falls off the bridge, but he doesn't. But he gets out of the car and he throws like this tape that was in the car out. So now we're at the school party. The teacher tells him to turn off that song, and he welcomes everybody to the Halloween dance. And he's like, "Welcome everybody, the Kickers." The Kickers are playing. And then of course this fucking guy, he's a fucking amateur. He can't tune his fucking guitar.
No.
What a fucking
amateur.
It's
hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to get a tuner.
And then, of course, Sam grabs his ass, basically grabs him into a speaker, and he comes out doing his raiding powers. And then he starts playing the Trick or Treat song, "Rock all night, rockin' to the midnight, something." What was the rest of it?
And then,
do your dance, rockin' to the midnight.
Yeah, that's a good song.
So everybody's rocking out, everybody. This guy's going crazy. I am falling all over this. I wish I was there. I'd be like one of those. I would have been like Roger, like freaking out while the guy didn't give a shit about what I was saying. All right. throwing around everywhere, doing kicks and everything. Next thing I know, he uses his Raiden powers and his guitar, and he starts melting everybody with his Raiden light.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So he's like, fuck everybody. I'm going to use my 80s blue light to kill you.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I did right here, too. Everybody's rocking out with him, and they all like metal now. Even though everybody hated it. Only Eddie was the only metalhead guy in the whole fucking school besides Roger. And now everybody likes metal. What a bunch of turncoats.
Kind of. But yeah. I see what you're saying, though.
So, the Samuel does a deadly solo. And this is when he, destroying everybody.
Yeah.
Leslie is getting undressed for some reason. Because we already did that 18 to 34 male.
No, doesn't she say that she's not getting undressed. Her costume's coming apart.
Gotcha.
Because she mentions that earlier when she calls him. She's like, "Yeah, my costume's falling apart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave the party because my costume's falling apart." She says.
So Tim shows up. He's like, "I got a question for you."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "You making it with that Eddie guy?" All right. And then Ed shows up there. All right, he's trying to find Roger. All right, and then Tim's back. He's talking to Leslie. He's like, "You made it with that Eddie guy. You know, he does all that voodoo witchcraft stuff." And I was like, "Tim, did you watch Zombie 4? Like, what's going on here? Voodoo witchcraft stuff."
Yeah.
It's like, listen, I just don't want you to get hurt. All right, and so Eddie shows up there. And he wants Roger to blow the breaker so he can stop the electricity flowing through the place because, we have Raiden. Samuel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You think Samuel and Raiden, maybe they're like the same class of like,
of magical person,
yes.
Whatever they are. Yeah.
Maybe he's or maybe Samuel is Raiden's son. We don't know.
Maybe.
We need that. We need that explored in Trick or Treat 2.
Yeah, this is the scene where is this the scene where Tim corners Leslie in the bathroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Started being a little dick.
This is so your job in this podcast is to keep us up. But I want to tell this story. I'm going to bring us back down again.
Right.
And I apologize to the people out there. But I've had a couple beers, so I'm going to tell the story. So this really bothered me. This really triggered me. I'd forgotten about this scene. If I had known about this, I would not have wanted to do this movie, to be honest with you. I had forgotten about this. So the scene where he nearly rapes Leslie in the bathroom. So that happened to someone I know. When I was around 15 years old, probably. There was someone who, a girl who was kind of part of like the group that Tim would be involved with, who, started hanging around with a lot of us, like in the punk and like metal kids. And, she was like literally brutalized by these people for hanging out with us.
Dang.
And that really triggered me because that's a real story and that really happened. But I can tell you on the bright side of things that it took a while, but all those people paid for it.
That's good.
So we got them back.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
And some of those people are still living with things that we did to them.
That's good.
And I don't regret any of that shit. So fuck those people.
Yeah. It's true. If you want to be a fucking dick like that, it's just stupid.
Yeah. And but that was way too close to home for me. That was like, holy shit. Like that's something that like really happens. And it did really happen to me, to someone in my life.
Yeah.
But anyway, make us all happy again. Make us laugh.
Well, so now he's looking for Leslie, and he sees Tim in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Eddie's like, "Hey man, stay away" and stuff. So Sammy gets there, And then Samuel uses his rating powers to blow up Eddie, to blow up Tim. So there he goes.
Yes.
So before
Fuck
Tim
that
can be
guy.
like a fucking, basically he's like one of the only people in the movie who deserved to get blown up by Eddie by Samuel's rating powers.
Yep.
And then Eddie sees this. He runs away. He finds Leslie. Cops arrive. And then Roger goes there, and he goes to try to kill the power. All right. Samuel is doing his rating powers and arrives, and he corners them all. And then, Eddie's like, why are you doing this? Samuel's like, well, me and you, Ed, we had a deal. All right. And then Roger decides to be very heroic, and he blows up the power breaker. All right. And they think he's dead, but he's not dead. So then we have this girl outside talking to the cops, saying that it was Sammi from the rock group. And they don't believe him because, Sammy's been dead for like a week. He's like, there must be something in the punch. All right. And then
something in the punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have this guy named Jack. He's blaming Eddie to the cops, and the cops see Eddie, and then Eddie and Leslie both run away from the cops. They stop in an alley. Eddie tells her that the whole story of how, he basically helped Samuel come to this earth by raising the spirits from the dead because he played the record backwards. All right? Interesting. Now he's trying to stop. Now he remembers that Nuke is going to be playing the tape, and now Eddie wants to stop the tape being played over all the airways and stuff. He's calling the station, but he has no answer because the station security guy is passed out.
Yeah, of course.
So they exactly. So they go to the fucking station.
Right.
This is when we see that Lunch of the Dead sign.
Yeah.
So they run to the station. Cops looking for them. Samuel arrives outside a window. He just popped out of a window. All right, and then one cop sees Samuel. Is like, oh, that doesn't make sense. And then Samuel radiums his ass. He blue lightens him. So Eddie goes back to his house. He smashes all the radios inside his whole house, all the electronics everywhere. But he forgot the bathroom one. And he's looking for his mom's keys to his car. But they're in the bathroom. And we can see that the radio is melted in there. They get the keys from the bathroom, and then Raiden shows up, a.k.a. Samuel. And he melts and blows down the door. Like that's like, I get this where the poster came from, when he's like, he like kind of like melts the door.
Yeah.
And it blows up and stuff. I think that's where they got the poster from. And then, no shit, I thought this was like the most like amateur thing for this Raiden Samuel guy. Like all Eddie did was throw a piece of wood, and this fucking dork Samuel like trips and falls in the toilet. What a fucking loser! Come on, bro, you had all his Raiden powers, and you just fucking trip in the toilet. All right, and he's like blowing up, bro. Like he's getting electrified, and they all run away. And then they're like waiting outside forever. And then Samuel stops being all electrocuted. All right. And then they go into the car, and they eventually find a car that doesn't have a radio in it. It's like a cop car. So that's the one they're able to use. Okay. And then they arrive to the station WZLP. That's where you find all your rock music from, brother.
Exactly. It's where Nuke works.
Yes. So Ed says it's all his fault. He needs to end this. That's why he decides to go in there alone. But Leslie doesn't play that game, so she comes with them. And they look at the radio station. It's all fucked up. There's 80s blue light everywhere, and its 80s blue light is protecting the master tape. But Eddie has a plan.
He does.
So Eddie's plan is he's gonna have Leslie distract. Oh no, he's going to distract Samuel. And then while he does that, he wants Leslie to go inside there when he's distracted and take the tape and destroy it. And then he finally gets up enough courage. He kisses her. He's like, well, I see you again. He's like, maybe. I was like, oh, heroic man. All right. So now Eddie gets in. He starts taunting. He has like a recorder, like a Walkman with him, and he's like taunting Sam. He's like, "Who are you without your?" This reminds me of some sort of like this. He reminds me of some like fan on Twitter. Who are you without your fans? All right, you're just a fucking poser. Maybe your last album, fucking Burnt from Hell, that one sucked. Okay, it was. You're not as cool as Fuck with Fire. All right.
No, Fuck with Fire was like peak.
Yeah.
Peak.
Yeah, this new album sucks. You're a sellout. All right, you poser. All right, and then right when he calls him a fucking poser, that's when he appears, which I thought was kind of funny. And then he's in a cop car, right? So like the electric fence on the cop car is stopping him from doing his raiding powers on him. And then Eddie drives the car into the water. And of course, Eddie's okay. He gets out there scotch-free.
Yep.
So while this is happening, Leslie, she grabs the master tape. And she destroys the tape. She's looking kind of sad because she doesn't know what happened to Eddie. Eddie didn't drown. Eddie comes in to the record place. They kiss. And then we see Eddie is now was it Eddie or Nuke? Whoever was on the radio saying, "Wake up, sleepyheads. It's party time."
I'm not sure. So I was confused about that because it seemed like Eddie. I mean, yeah, Eddie was like the new DJ.
Yeah. Maybe Nuke got it. Maybe Nuke got nuked. Brother.
Maybe he did. And Eddie's going to take over for Nuke's spot, and he's going to be the new metal DJ. Rock and roll DJ.
Rock and roll DJ, brother. And that ends Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome movie, brother. I love
this movie's a goddamn classic. I mean, this movie is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you have to see this. If you like horror movies and heavy metal, you have to see this.
Good shit.
Yeah.
But the
only thing it would have been better is if Blackie Lawless had played Sammi Curr.
Yeah, that'd been pretty wild. Yeah, because that guy from Wasp is pretty wild, dude.
Yeah. Wasp is, we should go see Wasp. They're on tour. They're coming here soon.
But everybody, thank you for joining us on the Retro Blood Halloween edition. This one actually came out on Halloween this time. We usually do We usually do it the Sunday before, but we had a couple of scheduling conflicts due to a couple hurricanes and disaster stuff that have around here.
Yeah.
But everybody, I hope you all enjoyed the Halloween season for the Retro Blood 2024, where we did all the Amityville horror movies that came out of the 80s. Plus, we did the Lights Out on the first Amityville. Very fun reviews for those movies. And of course, I hope you all enjoyed the Battle of the Halloween Havocs. All right, that hopefully we got it done before this podcast because we're a little behind on stuff. So we actually don't know the winner right now, even though it might be released before this one comes out.
Maybe.
That's how life goes, I guess.
Yes.
But everybody, join us here. The Retro Blood keeps moving on, brother, even though we're 3 sheets past the wind.
We are.
It keeps moving on because in November, we are doing...
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
What's for fucking dinner month. All right?
Yeah, all cannibal movies.
All cannibal movies from the 80s. Found footage movies. All wild shit.
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, all the wild real life people going crazy on these movies.
Yeah, I've waited a long time for this one too. So this is gonna be some good shit.
It's gonna be wild. That's gonna be a wild month.
Yes.
If y'all like gore, human flesh. Do you like tribes eating people? Do you like documentary people getting eaten and shit like that?
Yeah.
Real life animals getting cut up.
Do you like white people fucking around and shit they shouldn't be fucking around with? This is for you.
And I say we start off the first one with the Cannibal Ferox.
All right, we'll do Cannibal Ferox first.
Because I've actually never seen that before, so it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the only movie we're doing this month, which we'll give you the full schedule next week, but the only one I've ever seen was Cannibal Holocaust. I've seen that one before.
Yeah. That's a classic too.
But everybody, like I said, I hope you all enjoyed our Halloween month. We always like to do a series and a special review. for this Halloween month. It's a very, very fun month. I liked it. We had some good ones on here. I would say Amityville wasn't my favorite Halloween series we ever did. I mean, I had never seen a series dive so hard than that one before. It was crazy. God. But, it was still, they had some fun times. And, of course, our Halloween episodes, that was really fun. But everybody, retroblood69@gmail. Give me your recommendations. Or you can talk to us on the Facebook, Instagram, Retroblood. On all there. Give us likes. You know what I mean? Grow, like I said, we're a podcast that doesn't have like a shit ton of advertising. You know what I mean? We're not super crazy out there, but give word of mouth. And if you know anybody who likes horror movies, 80s horror movies, or likes to have a good time and drink a beer, you can listen to us while you're driving, working out, whatever you do.
Yeah, listening to two dumb fucks talk about horror movies.
I don't know if you can listen to us fucking though. I mean, if you want me to, I could do like a little side section.
I think that would be like really, really cool. Like we would be. I think we would be really good background music for fucking.
You know what I mean? Maybe. You know what I mean? I might, when you're listening to,
especially like the folky ones, like when we're talking about like the Joy Trail and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that'd be really good.
Well, we had some green light on here, fondling a girl in a car. You know what I mean? Yep. Something. I guess that's your thing. Something. So, everybody, let's play some from the. Let's just play the main track from this movie, Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
That's a fucking great song. Too. Dance all night, party something. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
But everybody, join us this Sunday of November. Hopefully, we'll get the podcast out in time. What we're doing Cannibal Ferox.
Yeah.
Start off on November month. But everybody, happy Halloween. And we will see you here next time on the Retro Blue. Alison, James Kline. See y'all.
See you guys.